smart to chew on. The Lunchroom on RCI, Monday to Friday, 12:45 to 2 p.m. The Lunchroom, informative, enlightening, provocative, engaging. The Lunchroom on RCI, food for thought. The station that gives you, more lunch.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Lunchroom on Radio Caribbean International. It is Tuesday, January the 9th, 2024. This is program number 1114 of the Lunchroom, and I'm your host, Calix George Jr. Now, in addition to 101.1 FM radio, you can also get us at our website. It is rcicluja.com. We are also streaming live on Facebook. Just search for the official page of Radio Caribbean International. And, of course, be sure to like and share that link as well, please, with your friends and family. And of course, if you want to call in to tell us what's on your plate today, the number to do so is 452-3046. Again, 452-3046, as well as our WhatsApp number. That is 724-0008. You can call in or you can message in to our WhatsApp number. Again, it is 724-0008. Now, some birthday greetings for today going out to Mr. Kendall Hippolyte. Happy birthday to you, sir. And we do hope that you're having a wonderful birthday celebration. Also sending birthday greetings out to Dr. Karma James. Happy birthday to you, Dr. James. And we do hope that you're having a fantastic birthday celebration. And also sending birthday greetings to Mr. Dixon Charles. Happy birthday to you, sir. And we do hope that you have a wonderful birthday. And some individuals born on this day include the wife of the Prince of Wales, Kate Middleton, as well as former United States President Richard Nixon. A bit of history on this day. In the year 1431, judges' investigation for the trial of Joan of Arc began in Rouen in France, and I was in the seat of English-occupied government in France at that time. In 1760, Afghans defeat the Indian Maratha Empire in the Battle of Barari Ghat. 1839 saw some technology history as Louis Daguerre announced his daguerreotype photographic process to the French Academy of Science. And in 2007, on this day, Apple's CEO Steve Jobs announces the launch of the iPhone. We now move on to our dish of the day. The daily dish is brought to you the kind compliments of our good friends at Tiles Plus.
One tiles for your home, I see. Bathroom, kitchen, pantry. Need tiles for your balcony. Come down to Tiles Plus, satisfaction guarantee. Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus. Big tiles with unbeatable cost. Customer service, A+. With all kind of tiles, come down to Tiles Plus. We also got gasway and vanity. Books, doors, you'll see. Come down to mind nobody. We got the best tiles on island. Trust me. We are located Lance Road in Castries, Bossage Grosile, and Slack Street in Viewfort. Telephone number 453-7939. Tiles Plus.
Serving now, the Daily Dish.
And welcome back to our program for today, for this second program of the year. Thanks, of course, for joining us. And just a reminder that we are now back up and running on Facebook. So just search for that official page of Radio Caribbean International. And please share that link as well with other individuals who might be interested in the program. And we do hope that we can also get you to participate in the online chat. You can send in your messages on that platform as well. Now, looking at some issues, of course, for 2024. And we have, of course, just yesterday we listened to the Prime Minister's speech for the year, looking at a number of issues. And one of them he raised was the matter of roads and road construction and road maintenance. And that has been pretty topical for some time, as the island has been seeing quite a lot of issues with the prevalence of potholes and the rise of issues regarding the maintenance of roads. And of course, individuals are quite often complaining that their vehicles are suffering damage, whether it might be their fenders or their wheels or their rims, and a lot of that, of course, being attributed to the issue of the condition of roads around the island. And of course, everybody is interested in the arterial roads in particular that most people travel on, in particular the Castries-Grosley Highway. That has been rechristened the Sir Julian Hunt Highway for the section north of the Shock roundabout. Now, we have, of course, seen a bit of a mixed bag in terms of that road and its conditions. The dual carriageway section, that section which was constructed somewhere back on the eve of the 2007 World Cup, somewhere around 2005, 2006. That section of road, in fact, perhaps one of the busiest sections of road on the island. It was upgraded, widened because of just that reason, and in fact, those works had been already somewhat delayed for quite some time. It was subject of proposals for upgrading of that road from since as far back as 1993. You may recall that there was an original expansion to 3 lanes, and then the eventual dualizing of creating 2 separate carriageways with a median in the center, and of course allowing for more controls in terms of exiting and entering the highway, with major roundabouts being constructed at those major junctions, and limiting those right turns onto that section of highway. That has certainly helped a lot, and thankfully the condition of that road has generally been pretty good and is held up, considering that it is in fact approaching nearly 20 years since it was done. But it's probably going to come to a point very soon where it also will be requiring repaving and rehabilitation. And that is, of course, the fate of a number of our roads, which are getting to that point where they simply, the maintenance scheduling, the attempts at potholing, they are really going to become inadequate to be able to keep up with the servicing of those roads. And of course, these major arteries will always require very much special attention and adequate design to ensure that they can handle the volume of vehicles, including the heavy goods vehicles, trucks and lorries, and container trucks as well, which have to go along those arterial routes. And so it is apparent that we certainly do need to pay a lot more attention to these arterial roads, because they effectively are like the lifeblood of that circulatory network for the entire country. And so, of course, the indication coming from the Prime Minister is that the Castries-Grosley Highway, in particular that section north of Shock, heading towards Grosley, is going to be getting attention in the coming year. And of course, the attention cannot certainly be merely just a repaving, because it has significant issues of capacity and has been down for proposals for widening it for quite some time. And of course, that will involve to some degree land acquisition and potentially property acquisition. We've seen the challenges along that corridor where a number of buildings have been constructed, perhaps without the requisite setbacks from the highway itself, That, of course, a lot of illegal development has now meant that any works moving forward may very well find some buildings potentially having to be acquired and demolished to allow for some widening. And of course, in particular around some of the major junctions that we have seen, how that is going to be handled is, of course, really important. And so the need for instance, additional roundabouts will certainly require more land acquisition. Roundabouts tend to require a fair bit of land by the nature of their design. And of course, it will therefore mean that those aspects raise the cost of road construction. And of course, the very success of a road quite often means that the value of the properties around that actual thoroughfare increases in value. And of course, that makes it even more difficult in terms of the cost of development or widening or upgrading of these roads. But of course, the reality is that we're seeing the implications of the success in development, if you want to think of it that way, and additional commercial properties, commercial activity growing considerably in the north of the island. And we're seeing where the bottlenecks are. We're seeing clearly in that region around Bois d'Ouage, a number of businesses, Marisol Bois d'Ouage, a number of businesses have opened up there, and the attendant friction that is being experienced as a result of all these various vehicles trying to turn and getting in and out of these commercial enterprises has certainly worsened the traffic situation. And of course, junctions as well, as people try to bypass, and quite often these bypasses are very short routes, and they end up causing more traffic more than anything else. As yes, there's traffic leaving that main artery, but invariably it is merging somewhere fairly close down the line, and of course that is causing for quite a bit of problems there. So looking at the matter, of course, of that northwest corridor within which that Castries Grosley Highway runs, will certainly need some good attention. The other issue, however, within that context is based on the volume of traffic that road is already seeing. Suggestions have been that if we were to actually properly accommodate the volume of traffic, we would probably need a 6-lane highway, 3 lanes in each direction. That's the extent of the volume that we're looking at right now. And of course, there isn't that potential to be able to achieve that because of the constraints of development along the sides of that highway. And so perhaps at best, what might be able to be achieved maybe 4 lanes, 2 in either direction. And of course, it then raises other questions as to is that upgrade going to be sufficient? And the long-term answer perhaps would suggest not. That there is a need to certainly look at alternative routes from that principal Castries Grosley Highway. But in addition to the alternative routes, also looking at alternative modes of transport. And many have been touted over the years. Some have suggested we should perhaps look at the matter of a ferry system, maybe for those who would want to park and ride and perhaps catch a ferry from Rodney Bay and take it down into Castries and alight there, may be attractive to some people. But again, based on the nature of our development, may not really work for a lot of other people. And so we certainly do have to look at other forms of transport in this regard. The matter of cycling, we've seen it coming up and becoming pretty popular, more so maybe one can say for visitors to the island. And as of now, of course, we're seeing a number of tours being provided, and in fact, a lot of those tours are actually being provided by tour operators who actually come along with these cruise ships, and they get off with all their equipment, all their bikes and everything, and we can quite often see a number of these groups of 30 or 40 or so cyclists using the very same, very much congested highways that we find. Now, of course, that's not a very ideal situation by any means. You would think, of course, of many countries that are looked at as models for very successful biking infrastructure around the world. And of course, the Netherlands is top of its class, but also countries like Denmark and other European countries making significant investments as well, like Germany, and even some North American municipalities are trying to increase on just that. But that is the point, that they, if we are going to be encouraging cycling, there is a need to have cycling infrastructure. And what does that look like? Ideally, having segregated bike lanes, but not just bike lanes just placed anywhere. Even having a bike lane on a highway is not a very safe thing. You would want to ensure that, generally speaking, the speeds that you're talking about along those routes would suggest not really highway type conditions, but perhaps more of a boulevard, avenue type situation where vehicles are not speeding too much, and as well that there's good separation and physical barriers for those bikes. And again, in very many instances, in many of these countries, there are actually dedicated cycling ways, which in fact are completely removed from the thoroughfare for vehicles themselves. So certainly it is something that we also need to look at, not just from the perspective of visitors coming to the island and using it. And of course, quite often we may see some visitors moving between, say, the Rodney Bay Marina and the Rodney Bay commercial area, using cycling. And in some instances, maybe cycling on a very quiet rural road is okay and should be permitted, or a reasonably quiet street, areas that you can safely cycle and perhaps coexist with vehicles. But in very many other areas, that is not the case. And it is something that the authorities do need to look at within the context of safety. And God forbid we see some sort of accident again. We've seen the issues of how these types of unfortunate events involving visitors can, in fact, make headlines. Just recently, of course, we saw the incident over in St. Vincent and the Grenadines with this plane, single-engine flight coming out of Beckway and coming into St. Lucia to connect. And unfortunately, the gentleman, a very famous actor, Mr. Oliver, and his daughters losing their lives as a result of this plane crash. And of course, that made significant waves in terms of international media. And so these types of activities, if we're not careful, certainly even the matter of safety of individuals who are taking these tours certainly needs to be looked at within that context. But in addition to that, we certainly should be looking to see whether there is that possibility of broadening our suite of interventions in terms of transport to include alternative forms of transport. It certainly cannot just be about putting more cars on the road. We've seen that that is clearly not sustainable. And goodness knows, I don't even think that the relevant authorities have a precise count of the number of vehicles on our roads right now, but it is certainly in perhaps about 70,000 or so. Who knows if it could even be more than that by now. And it is not a sustainable process. And so the matter of also public transport, the need for public transit systems is also very important within that regard. But of course, it doesn't help when you get onto a bus and that bus is stuck in traffic with all the other cars as well. And the countries that have seen improvements in their public transit have also realized that they have to have dedicated infrastructure when it comes to public transport as well. And again, that may take very basic forms in some instances. If you're upgrading a highway, it's not just about adding additional lanes, but ensuring that perhaps that you have dedicated bus lanes. In some instances where countries have the means, they also look at introducing dedicated busways as well. The closest examples of that we have in our Caribbean context would perhaps be Trinidad and Tobago with their priority bus route. Traditionally, it was an old railway line that was upgraded to connect Port of Spain to Rima along that east-west conurbation. But even more recently, over in Martinique, and introductions there as well, quite a tidy sum of money spent by the authorities there in creating a bus rapid transit system, starting off in Fort-de-France in the downtown and going through largely existing road corridors and upgrading some of those to create some dedicated bus routes so as to create a bus rapid transit system between the city and the international airport, as well as the neighboring suburban town of La Mette. So certainly we're seeing these types of investments, and we should be asking within the context of the Northwest Corridor, Castries to Grosley, whether there should be some planning towards looking at what really can work within our context, what would make best sense, what at least are some of the immediate interventions that can be made to improve public transport and to encourage individuals to, in fact, want to use public transport. Quite often we have this idea that public transport is somehow not something that individuals of a certain class should be using. And so many people see ownership of a car not about necessarily getting from work to home or whatnot, but as some form of a status symbol. And so within that context, we certainly have to see how public transport can be made a lot more attractive and can be something that we would actually want to use. And it should certainly not be something that is only really pushed when we're having large-scale events such as, let's say, Cricket World Cup or the Jazz and Arts Festival. But that whole concept of park and ride could be something that we can actually use on a regular basis, on a weekly basis, on a daily basis. And so how to maybe encourage people to do that. You know, in some countries, you have a day where you encourage people to carpool. or you encourage people to try to take a bus or to use at least once a week, use some other form of transport other than getting into your private vehicle and you alone are ending up using that vehicle invariably, and that is the main mode of transport. The reality is that even one minibus can effectively take 14 cars off the road. And if you had a bigger bus, it could even take even far more cars off the road. So certainly, having effective public transport is really an important aspect in transport planning and national development. And it is something that is going to be important in the future if we are going to be talking about a sustainable society, but not just a sustainable society, but also a more efficient society. And so the savings that can be realized as a whole should certainly be looked at within this context. Because as we can already see, it is a Herculean task for any government to be able to keep up with the kind of investment that is needed to maintain roads. Even the roads that we have that exist, which are already inadequate, which are already under a significant amount of pressure, we are already seeing that there are serious challenges in this regard. So certainly that push towards better transport and certainly perhaps the use of technology in this regard is very important to ensure that we can see a safer, cleaner, more inviting system of public transit. It is one of the areas, unfortunately, we have not really seen a lot of investment in, even in the basics, in terms of proper bus stops and laybys. There has been some improvement over the years, but we can still see the absence of having a dedicated transit hubs, dedicated bus terminals, if you prefer that type of terminology, to be able to handle interconnections and to ensure that people can get into a downtown area and they may not have to get wet coming off the bus or and connect to another route. A lot of those things certainly are very important within the context of encouraging individuals to be able to utilize public transport. And of course, if we're looking at investments in roads, it will mean that if we can have fewer cars over a period of time, in the long run, that actually means that you've got less pressure on your road systems as well. And that works towards overall benefit for the longevity of your infrastructure. So we certainly do have to be looking at this issue. So as we continue, no doubt, to clamor for better maintenance and upgrading of roads, no doubt the people in Beausejour will be talking about the condition of their roads, and the people in Moshi will be talking about the condition of their roads, and in Vésikui they'll be talking about the condition of roads, and in many other parts of the island, whether it's a street or a community road or a secondary road, we will know that there'll be a lot of requirements for improving on road conditions. And also, I should also mention the matter of making walking a lot more safe. Certainly should be a major aspect of any kind of good transport strategy. That is the way that our ancestors were able to move for hundreds of thousands of years. And it still means that we've still got the tools to do so. Being able to walk and to encourage people to do that has lots of good benefits from so many different perspectives, and it so therefore needs to be not an afterthought, and especially where you have a lot of communities and people living, and there are some very critical areas where we can see that sidewalks would be very, very useful, where you've got lots of individuals walking on a very regular basis, especially children, children coming from school, and those areas especially require sidewalks and some special attention to the means by which pedestrians can get around. And so that is another area I think we do need to take into account in whatever we're doing in terms of our strategy for transport. Now, that's our dish of the day. When we come back, we're going to take in our weather report, and then we'll take in some calls.
This has been The Daily Dish.
One tiles for your home, I see. Bathroom, kitchen, pantry. Need tiles for your balcony. Come down to Tiles Plus, satisfaction guarantee. Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus. Big tiles with unbeatable cost. Customer service, A+. With all kind of tiles, come down to Tiles Plus. We also glad gasway and vanity. Box, dust, you'll see. Come down, don't mind nobody. We got the best tiles on island. Trust me. We are located Land Street in Castries, Bosses Ju Grozile, and Slack Street in Beaufort. Telephone number 453-7939. Tiles Plus.
Island style, yeah. We got the time to make you go. We got the time to make you say, yeah. We'll help you make the right choice. Island style, whoa. We got the time that will make you happy. Island style, oh yeah. We make your dream come alive in Island style.
We have tiles and things, sets, pieces and ground. Everything you need, we sort the house out. For the best price and the latest style. Take a little drive down to Island Style car.
We got the time to make you go. We got the time to make you say, quality, price, service, choice. It's all an Island Style.
Visit us at our showrooms in Bellarosa, Rodney Bay, on the John Compton Highway, Castries, and behind Ruby's Gas Station on the Library Viewfort Highway. Or call us on 450-452 or 453-TILE. Island Style Tile and Bath. When you think tile, think Island Style.
This is Radio Caribbean International. It's now time for the weather news.
And that's all, of course, on the 1.1. It's now time for your weather report as of 12 noon today, presented by Island Style Tile and Bath. The forecast for St. Lucia valid for the next 24 hours. The winds will be blowing from between the east and east-northeast near 21 miles per hour or 33 kilometers per hour, with gusts near showers. The weather partly cloudy to cloudy and breezy with some scattered showers. And there is an advisory in here which brings small craft operators and sea beavers are advised to exercise caution due to brisk winds and locally rough seas. The forecast for the Lesser Antilles over the Windward Islands and areas further south. Partly cloudy to cloudy and breezy with scattered showers. Elsewhere, fair to partly cloudy and breezy with a few showers. And the weather summary, a weak shell line in the lower atmosphere of the southern half of the Lesser Antilles will cause... I'm going to read this over. The weather summary, a weak shell line in the atmosphere, in the lower atmosphere, southern... over. And that's why the weather summary, a weak shell line in lower atmosphere over the southern half of the Lesser Antilles will generate a few periods of cloudiness with scattered showers during the next 24 hours. The Atlantic high pressure system will continue to generate moderate to brisk easterly and northeasterly winds and locally rough seas across the region during the next few days. Wow. And this was the weather report as of 12 noon today, presented by Island Style Tile and Bath.
This has been RCI's Weather News. For more information, call the Weather Hotline at 454-3452. RCI 101 number 1.
Island style. We got the time to make you go. We got the time to make you say, we'll have to make the right choice. Island style. Whoa. We got the time that will make you happy. Island style. Oh yeah. We make your dream come alive in island style.
We have tiles and things, sets, pieces and ground. Everything you need to sort the house out. For the best price and the latest style. Take a little drive down to Island Style Car.
We got the time to make you go. We got the time to make you say, quality price, service choice. It's all an island style.
Visit us at our showrooms in Belarus, Rodney Bay, on the John Compton Highway, Cass Street, and behind Ruby's Gas Station on the Library Viewfort Highway. Or call us on 450-452 or 453-TILE. Island Style Tile and Bath. When you think tile, think Island Style.
And welcome back to our program here at the Lunchroom on Radio Caribbean International. And of course, big shout out to all those listeners on our Facebook Live. Hope you're having a good one, and a Happy New Year to everybody there as well. And of course, the number to call in to tell us what's on your plate today, it is 452-3046. Again, 452-3046. As well as our WhatsApp number, 724-0008. Again, 724-0008. If you want to call in to make a contribution. We've generally been speaking about some traffic issues and transport matters. Of course, it's a lot of it what is in the news, and in terms of social media, it seems to be about roads, and I think people are, yes, concerned about, maybe getting ensured that potholes are filled. But of course, there is a little bit more to that than the issue at hand, and we could fill potholes now, and then of course the question is, would you not have to be filling those very same potholes again the week after? And so we do have to think about the matter of how we get around, how we, or should we be getting around even, and that's another big question within the context of technology, and how well we are in fact applying technology to be able to perform our transactions and what have you. There are still way too many users of the traditional form of having to physically go in. And I mean, yes, we know that there will always be some individuals in our society, they will want to be able to physically go into a bank or physically go into some service provider to pay a bill or to get some kind of government service. I think we can say that a lot of the service providers have modernized. They have certainly allowed for individuals to be able to do a lot of transactions remotely. And so it's not just about even being at your home. It could be you being at the office. It could be you being on vacation out of the country or whatever. And you can still transact some business. And you're seeing a lot of that. You're also seeing a lot of individuals providing better delivery services, and that's helping the cause, certainly. It would certainly help in terms of reducing vehicles on the road in some respects. And we, of course, do also appreciate that government needs to play catch-up when it comes to the delivery of online services. There's still too many points where to actually get some information from government or get some item that you need, whatever the case may be, you still have to physically go in. And some people will tell you, not only do you have to go in once, you're having to go in thrice and 4 times, and it really does not help when the services are not efficient. And of course, the classic in the Caribbean context is that you go into one office and you've got to go to another office in another location to get some other bit of information, and then you have to go back to the office that you just came from, and then you realize that you can't pay what you've got to pay at that location. You've got to go to another location to pay. And yes, and so we certainly do need a lot of streamlining of our processes, our bureaucracy, the red tape, to make things easier to do business. And that certainly helps in terms of people hopefully traveling less or making fewer trips. And hopefully it would then mean that they'd have more time for other forms of travel, maybe more on foot or more leisure, as the case may be. So we definitely do have to look at the matter of communications as a whole, transport and communications, and see them as very much interconnected. And the interventions that you can make in the matter of digitalization are very important towards ensuring that we don't have to burn as much fossil fuels. We don't have to congest the roads as much as they are right now, that there are other ways of getting things done. So that's a really important aspect. But the reality of it as well is that human beings, we are creative creatures. We are also social creatures, and we want to sometimes be present. We want to be able to interact. We want to be able to spend time in each other's presence, whether it's at a church service, whether it's at a festival, whether it is at some form of gathering, public meeting, and so quite often we will want to be coming together, and that will mean physical movement, and it still means that we therefore have to ensure that we have a good means of moving people safely, rapidly from different locations. And so as a society, the matter of transport will certainly continue to be a very important one, and of course for our economy as well. And if you think it's only about the city that is in issue here in terms of this matter, a very interesting story coming out of the St. Lucia Times has British tourists lamenting the state of the Guyabwa Road. And for some people may not even know where Guyabwa is located. It is in the quarter of Labrie in the constituency of Choiseul Saltibus, and it is a road perhaps not very widely traveled because you don't have very many large settlements, even medium-sized settlements along that road, but it's a sort of a parallel road to the main Saltibus Road. And it is an area actually from fairly near where the former Prime Minister of St. Lucia, Dr. Kenny Anthony, actually hails from. And that road has been, unfortunately, in a poor situation, a poor condition for quite some time. Work had been done, I recall, some years ago in first installing the drainage for that road, but I'm not too sure that the surface of the road was ever properly attended to. But the reality is that you're finding a lot of people now, a lot of vacationers now, a lot of visitors to St. Lucia are coming, and they want to spend time not in a 400-room hotel resort sitting by a beach which is, scattered with lots of umbrellas and, that typical kind of visitor experience. They're definitely looking for more off the beaten path, more ecotouristic, more authentic experiences. And thanks to the rise of Airbnbs, you're finding that a lot of individuals are putting their properties up for rent and for use by visitors, and these are in fact being used. So this is a very interesting story coming from St. Lucia Times on this matter, and it reads as follows. Some British tourists in St. Lucia for a 9-night vacation have joined residents complaining about the deplorable state of the Gaiabois Road in Saltibus. The visitors said the situation put a damper on their stay. Matt Hammond, his wife, their 2 children, his sister-in-law, and her partner booked into Pineapple Cottage Airbnb on the Gaiabois Road. The group spokesman said it was his second vacation in St. Lucia. He recalled that the group hired a vehicle from a car rental company that was aware of the state of the Gaiabois Road. Quote, "In the past, when we have rented from them, they have always given us a 4-wheel drive vehicle," Hammond told St. Lucia Times. He disclosed that this time around, the company provided a Toyota Noah 4-wheel drive to accommodate everyone. Quote, "Last year it was bad. We could maneuver with several bumps, but this time it's like off-road driving. We had to change the vehicle because it lacked power to get down the road," Hammond recalled. However, he said the new vehicle, a Toyota Voxy, got stuck due to the state of the road. Quote, "We were stuck for about 2 to 3 hours trying to maneuver the vehicle because it bottomed out, and we had to go change the vehicle back to the previous one because at least that one could get down the road," Hammond recalled. He explained that it meant that he and the other visitors lost a day of their vacation arranging to get up and down the Gaiabois Road and from their accommodation. Hammond said the situation put a damper on their vacation. Quote, "We lost a day. We planned to go to Rodney Bay, so unfortunately because of the vehicle we got, which did not have enough power, we couldn't go. The vehicle they swapped had the power but couldn't get down the track, so we had to give it back," the Yorkshire resident stated. He said 2 firefighters trained to drive fire engines and off-road vehicles in the UK are part of the visiting group. Hammond said the duo could not maneuver the vehicle down the Gaiabois Road. "That is how bad it is," he lamented. "Sort it out. Think about the impact on the economy. Think about the southerners on the island, the impact on the local residents, and the inability to attract tourism funding to the economy to support local businesses," was Hammond's message to the St. Lucia authorities. The visitors were due to leave for home on Tuesday. In his New Year's address to the nation, Prime Minister Philip J. Pierce said the government would allocate significant technical and financial resources to road rehabilitation and construction. Quote, "We will commence remedial works on roads island-wide, including the Castries-Grosley Highway. We expect significant progress on both lots of the Millennium Highway project, as progress on Lot 1 has so far been unsatisfactory," Pierre stated. And that story coming from the St. Lucia Times. And it is an interesting one because it is part of the challenge that government is having, and all governments will continue to have, regarding the matter of road construction and road maintenance in St. Lucia. And here you have a road, which is a fairly long road, I think perhaps well over 6 kilometers or so. And the question, therefore, is how do you maintain such a road within the context of having so few people living on it, but yet still you now have a situation where individuals who, of course, want to be able to enjoy the nature and the beauty of the area, are finding themselves, of course, allowing for people to come and do so through Airbnbs, and that's great for the economy. But then the issue of roads and access becomes a major one. And for those of you who are, of course, familiar with the Choiseul Labrie area, you've got, and quite often people think that because of that, because of the number of roads and the distances that people have to travel on that in that area, that these are actually very large communities. You quite often hear people saying, Choiseul is the largest constituency on the island. The reality is that it's actually not. But because it's you've got all these serrated ridges and communities seem pretty far. But in fact, in terms of the land area, it's actually not that great. But there's a lot of roads to maintain in Choiseul. Each ridge is a road. So from Delsay to the Delsay-La-Pouette road, and then you got the Industry Road, and then you got the Franciou Road, and then you got the Union Vale Road, and you got the Montgouge Martyr Road, and then you got another one running from Fiette through Monsignor, and then and that has two branches, and then you've got the actual main, I think it's called Savant George Road, and then the main highway, which runs through the Daquitaire, Bellevue area, and then off that, you've got additional roads that will take you into Diga, Café, and Sauzé, and the Motet, Roblo, Dibrel Ridge is another one, and that has branches off there too into Lamaze, and so on and so on and so on. And so you then realize that it is an area where you've got lots of roads, fairly small populations, but you've got to somehow maintain these roads, and that is really where you have a challenge, especially in rural areas, in trying to ensure that you have better conditions of roads. A lot of those roads, you may recall, were actually done through a project financed by the French government through AFD a number of years back, around 2004 to 2006. And again, a lot of them are coming to the point where they may be at end of life and they require significant rehabilitation. And so when you now begin to look at the number of, and this is just Choiseul we were just speaking about, and we didn't even get into Saltibus and the roads. Of course, the Saltibus road recently done, but this other Gaiabois road, which again kind of runs parallel to the Saltibus road, requiring attention as well. And so you will find that trying to keep up with all these road maintenance road projects will in fact cost quite a lot of money, and these are rural, not even secondary roads, tertiary roads you may want to call them, that are important for the economy. Yes, but as well as that, you have to still maintain your national road network doing that as well. So the challenge, of course, is a very, very real one, and it does not have a very easy solution, except we may have to figure out how do you finance a lot of those projects. Many people will tell you, well, there was this issue of road tax, and yes, I think that was a major one, the matter of increasing the gas rate, the price of gas, the price of the taxes on fuel, like diesel and gasoline. The question is, of course, how do you ensure that is that all that funding going to be going towards road construction, or does it have to also support other forms of transport and other pursuits of the government? And that certainly is a major challenge in that regard. So let's hope that we can hear something more regarding this push. The government, of course, has announced the year of infrastructure and indicating the need, of course, to get to that point where we are not just playing that significant amount of catch-up, but it is going to take quite a while, no doubt, to be able to get to a point where I think we can say that we actually do have a very well-managed, well-designed road network, and as well, not just road network, but more generally, a public transport network. Of course, if you do want to add your voice to the mix, the number to call in is 452-3046. As we still are on the matter in the south of the island, another update coming from an ongoing project aimed at looking at renewable energy in St. Lucia, the matter of geothermal energy in particular. That has been one where there's been a lot of interest over the years, some research done, and an additional push right now to be able to see whether, in fact, there is a commercially viable geothermal energy resource on island. And in fact, there have been studies that have been done thus far, and as part of that aim towards identifying that resource, there of course have had to be certain environmental safeguards. And the center, many of these areas which are believed to have exploitable geothermal resources, in one instance actually falls within what is known as the Petor Management Area, World Heritage Site. And that, of course, is a fairly large space, I think over 2,500 hectares or so of land. And it is, there are some areas which, of course, are no-build zones, where no kind of development really should be happening, including our very famous Petors as well as the Sulphur Springs. But it also includes other zones where some level of development is permitted. And so there is, in fact, a survey that is being undertaken as of now to look at properly defining or surveying out these boundaries of the Petor Management Area. And so under the Department of Infrastructure, Ports and Transport, the Renewable Energy Sector Development Project, RESDP, in conjunction with the Office of the Petor's Management Area, has engaged the services of land surveyors to survey the limits of the Petor's Management Area, PMA. The survey, which commenced on November 30th, 2023, will continue for a 9-month period and will define the boundaries and coordinates of the Petor's Management Area and the Green Buffer Zone. The survey will include both the local coordinate system and the Global Positioning System GPS coordinates of the boundary lines and will be registered with the Survey and Mapping section of the Department of Physical Development and Urban Renewal on completion. The purpose of this project is to set up a green boundary or a green buffer zone for protecting the character of the PMA, a World Heritage Site, prior to commencing the geothermal exploration. For St. Lucia, the Petor's Management Area is an area of outstanding natural beauty in Soufriere with spectacular geological features and is a highly sensitive biological resource area. In 2018, the World Heritage Committee urged St. Lucia to formally establish a buffer zone for the UNESCO World Heritage Site, the PMA, and to clarify the type of activities permitted in this buffer zone, and that once the activities are defined, the buffer zone should be formally recognized under the World Heritage Convention. We are pleased that this has commenced and look forward to its fruition. Manager of the Peters Management Area, Mrs. Joan Hippolyte, sees this survey as critical to preserving the World Heritage designation, stating that the guidelines for the implementation of the World Heritage Convention require that a buffer zone be established for the purpose of effective protection of the PMA. Details of the size and characteristics of the buffer zone, as well as a map indicating the precise boundaries of the buffer zone, are required under the World Heritage Convention. Steep and visible slopes near the PMA must be protected from development because of environmental impacts. The survey of the boundaries is therefore a step in the right direction, end quote. Through the PMA demarcation, the World Heritage status of the PMA will be guaranteed, and it will continue to attract both local and overseas visitors, thereby providing employment opportunities within the communities. Further, zoning would allow a balanced approach to development by permitting and maintaining certain tourism-related activities and geothermal exploration and development. Communities are asked to take note that during the 9-month survey period, the surveyor and his crew will mark the PMA boundary with special pegs 150 meters or about 164 yards apart along the road edge. Community members can seek clarification or raise any issue with the Renewable Energy Project Community Liaison Officer, and that coming, of course, from the Renewable Energy Sector Development Project ongoing right now in that general area of Soufrière, but as well within the Saltbus area. And that, of course, coming from St. Lucia Times. Now, of course, we'll be discussing a lot more issues tomorrow, including the matter of some international ones, a number of elections coming up around the world, including in places like Venezuela. We also are watching what is going on in the United States of America. Very interesting state of play there, as well as in Taiwan. The Republic of China, Taiwan goes to the polls this coming Saturday. And so we'll be looking at some of the interesting dynamics and what that may very well mean for world politics and geopolitics. So that's our program for today here at the Lunchroom. We'll be back again tomorrow, God willing, for another program. Hope you can join us for that. I'm your host, Alex George Jr., saying goodbye.